In this example, what I'll be doing is taking a transcript and extracting information that I want to capture. So first off, I've got my prompt here. So I've got a form, and the form is going to be a social care needs assessment form, and then I'm going to loop in the transcript. This is an example transcript. Now, because this wasn't an actual meeting, I am having to use it's in a Word document, but if you have it the meeting actually recorded and transcribed, you are able to do this to the actual meeting itself. Now, just so you're aware what we have here, it is simply a social care needs assessment form. We've got name, address, phone number, date of birth, gender, ethnicity, living situation, financial and housing concerns, support network, mental health and well-being, physical health and disabilities, and then goals and outcomes. Now, what I also have is that transcript. Now, in all honesty, this was created by AI, just like the social care needs assessment form was. So I just went into Copilot and said, this is what I want, create it for me. These are the areas that I want to capture, and it inserted all of those in there. So if you look through, this is between a conversation between someone called Louis and Harry. I didn't give it any more context other than that, but it decided that Harry would be from Harry Potter. So we have Harry living at 4 Privet Drive, living in the cupboard under the stairs, living with an aunt and uncle that are very, very nice to them. But there what you can see is we've got two separate documents, two very different formats. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say, copy each question from the form and retrieve the answer from the transcript using the sections given in the form and add it to the relevant section in a readable format using bold headings for headings and questions. Do not deviate from the existing section, headings, or questions. What that means is we're giving it strict instructions, and when we think about generating the prompts, the goal, source, expectation, and context, we're giving all of that within here. So I'm simply going to hit enter, and it's going to start pulling through that information for me. So as you can see, we've got where it's pulling it from, and these are all questions that have been asked. I asked the name, I asked the address, I asked the date of birth, but not necessarily in this format. But we're able to extract those bits of information with that simple prompt. Let this do its thing, and when we get to the end, so here we have the social care needs assessment form and example transcript. Here's the information in a readable format. We're living. Do we feel comfortable in our home? We currently live in a cupboard under the stairs. It's small and dark and not very comfortable. We didn't mention anything about daily activities or adaptability to home. We're considered a burden by our aunt and uncle. But we wish for a place of our own. So what we've been able to do is, it might not have been in that exact format, it might not have been said in that correct way, but as long as we have mentioned these different areas, it's able to understand and then pull through those different bits of information for us. I'm now going to go through Copilot in Excel. Before I get into the full demonstration, it's important to understand that there are two users of Excel. There are what we call power users, and there are those power avoiders. Those people that, the power users are the ones that know how to do pivot tables, they know how to generate charts, they know how to utilize and extract data from existing data. Those power avoiders won't be able to, or won't know the intrinsic details on how to do X lookups and V lookups or create pivot tables. Now, currently, we are catering towards those power users rather than the power avoiders, and but that doesn't mean that we won't have that in the future. Once Copilot in Excel is in general availability, it will cater for both power users and power avoiders. So, first off, I've got some sales data here. We've got some accounts with the location, January to June spend. I've then put that into a new sheet and put the quarter totals in there. I've also got the account managers, contacts, and then some account managers and numbers. Now, first off, although I've got Q1 and Q2 here, I can't see what the margin change is. Obviously, I can see there's been an increase here of £2,000. We've got a decrease here of about £130,000, but I can't see what the actual margin change is. Now, let's say we need to, as a business, we need to understand what that margin change is, because that's what we are targeted on across the board. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to open up Copilot on the right hand side and ask it, or tell it, to insert a column after the Q2 total showing the percentage margin change between Q1 and Q2. It's then going to go off and it's going to generate me a formula that it thinks that I should be using. Now, this formula will usually be is quite simple, because you take the Q2 total, you divide it by you minus the Q1 total, then you divide it by the Q1 total to get you that percentage margin change. But not only are we getting the formula itself, but we're getting an explanation of the formula. So this formula calculates the percentage margin change between Q1 and Q2 for the company in the table by using the following formula. We then have the total percentage margin change, what it will look like when we put it in there, and then we have the ability to just insert that column there. And in a couple of minutes, a couple of seconds even, 20 seconds, what we've done is we've gone from data with just that Q1 and Q2 total to the percentage margin change across the board within those different quarters. Now, although this is easy to read, and I can see that obviously we've got some big accounts, we've got some good accounts. As a business, we are targeted on 10%, so we want to make sure that all of our accounts are growing by 10% if possible. So here I'm gonna now tell Copilot to do something called conditional formatting. So apply a conditional format that if something meets this particular thing that I've said, apply this. So if it's over 10%, mark the item in green, and if it's under 10%, mark it in red. As you can see there, Copilot's gone off and done that for us. So not only have I got that percentage margin change, I've also got it highlighted in green or red depending on what the margin change is. So we've got quite a few accounts that are under that 10% that we want to target, but there's one here that's actually an increase of 1,000%. Now, I've now done a little bit of digging. I now want to go out to this account manager. So we've got PI Inc. We've got the main contact as Peter Parker, and they're located out of Brighton, but I don't know who that account manager is. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the sales data, which is the raw data that I've been pulling from, where we've got that January to June spend, and I want to start editing this, start going into this a little bit more. So we've got PI Inc. here. There was static until April, then it increased in April, increased in May, and then it went down again. What I now want to do is I now want to find out, like I said, what is that account manager? Is there a reason for this? What should we be expecting in the future? I'm now going to get Copilot to insert a column after the location and insert the account manager associated to the company name in the account managers and number sheet. Now, this is a really specific prompt because I'm telling it where I want to pull that information from. Now, the formula that it's going to use is an X lookup. It's going to go off and it's going to say, right, if I do an X lookup, look for the company name, look for it within the account manager, and then put it in there. We've then got the explanation of that X lookup, finds the account manager for each company. It then has the account manager themselves. So I've got the ability to, again, I've got the ability to ghost it in, but because this is currently going into column E, which currently has data in there, here, currently going into column E, we can't have it ghosted in. As soon as I hit insert column, it will move everything across and insert that in there. Now, looking at PI Inc. down here, that is owned by Lucille. And so we can go out to Lucille and have a conversation with her, understand what's going on with this particular account or this particular contact. Now, let's take it further along. Let's say a couple of hours later, we now want to try and understand who is our biggest account manager, who's bringing in the more money across their accounts. So now going into this account managers and numbers sheet, I'm now gonna just highlight the table itself and then come down here and insert the prompt, which is using the table in sales data, insert a column for the total spend for each month and each account manager. Copilot again is actually going to pick me a formula that does that task that I've asked it to do. Now, usually what it does is something called a sum if, and it will look for the account managers and put that total in there. Now, in the other examples, what I've been doing is, insert one column here, insert one column here, do this for me. In this instance, I've asked it to insert a column for each month. So it's actually going to do me 6 different columns at one time. Again, we've got each column broken down by the actual formula that's going to be used. We've got the full explanation of that. Again, we have the ability to copy and paste that in there if we don't want to do it on a mass scale. And I can just hit insert column there, and it's going to insert those columns for me automatically. I don't need to do anything more. Now, again, my data is limited because it is test data. I've got 6 months spend. I've got 4 account managers, and I've got 20 accounts. Now, if your data is 3,000 lines long, 200 lines long, or 20 lines long like mine is, it doesn't matter. The prompts will work exactly the same. Now, finally, not everyone needs to look at financial data. They may need to split out information, whatever that may be, personal information, email addresses, usernames. They might have to split out bits of information from different data sources, and it might not be in the correct format. So here I've got some simple names and email addresses of accounts, account main contacts. We've got surname, first name, email address. So we've got Bruce Wayne, we've got Steve Rogers, we've got Clark Kent. Now, it's not in the correct format. It's not in the correct format in terms of the way that we want it. We have got the surname and first name and then the email address. Let's say, quite simpler, what we want to do is we want to split out this formula. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell it to split out the first name, surname, and email address into separate columns. Copilot is then going to go off. It's going to understand that, Prince, Peter, Tony, Steve are all the first names, and Potter, Green, Brown, Jones are all the surnames. It's going to understand that they aren't in the correct format and then pull all of that information out for us. Same with the email address. It's going to understand where the email address is and how the email address is formatted. We can see there that we've got the formula, which is mid, left, and then mid again. And then again, I can just insert that column in there. So not only analyzing financial data and pulling financial data out, but we have the ability to analyze any data and pull any bits of information that might be in the wrong format or the wrong way round. We can pull all of that information out quite simply.
I think we all know how powerful Copilot for Microsoft 365 within PowerPoint presentations can be. The ability to reference an existing document, existing content, and get AI to generate that first draft of a presentation is really powerful for those people that don't like being in PowerPoint presentations, that don't want to spend the time in there, don't have the time to do that. A lot of the queries that I've been getting recently is around using existing corporate themes. How can we use this existing corporate theme? We use a certain text, we use a certain format, we use certain colors, and allow our employees to utilize those and utilize AI without us having to go back through and re-edit all of the document. What I've got here is an example document, an example theme. So we've got a different title page, we've got different ways that we want the content to show. Because this is set as a theme, when I ask Copilot to generate me a a presentation from an existing document, it will understand that we've got a theme and it will start using that theme and leveraging that theme. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a presentation from a file. I'm going to use this marketing plan for FY24. Now, funnily enough, this marketing plan is generated by AI. So all of this content, all of the information that you'll see here will be generated by AI to the PowerPoint presentation. But as we know, it will look at that document, it will understand that document, it will say, right, these are the areas that I think we should be focusing in on. So we're going to look at the plan, we're going to look at the summary, we're going to look at the situation analysis, the objectives, the strategy, the action plan. We're then going to go off and we're going to generate those slides. What we'll do within a couple of minutes, and I think we've all seen this and how powerful it can be, is go from nothing to something. But in this instance, we will go from nothing to a presentation that's within our theme. It's taken on board those different things that we as a company like. You know, we like the purple, we like the logo to be white when it's on a coloured page and to be coloured when it's on a white page. What I can do is I can easily switch this theme. So if I go to layout, let's say I'm not too sure on the purple banner on the right hand side, I can go to title 2 and it will understand the different ways and where it needs to put the content. Let's say we go down here, we've got an agenda page, but it's not taking our agenda layout. So again, agenda 2. If I go to this one, I'm not too sure, I don't really like the format that it's in, I can even do a different content. So let's say I go for this one. It's going to understand which bits of content need to go where. It's going to reformat that. So we can come in, we can hone it, we can obviously edit it, we can do everything that we need to do. It might not get it correct sometimes. So here we've got a table. Well, I don't really like the format of the colours, so I'm going to remove the highlighting and I'm going to put the theme colour as black. So again, we can go in there and we can edit this theme and it will do that automatically. But what we've done is we've used an existing template, used an existing corporate template and been able to generate a new presentation off the back of that.